Camilla always loved the bustling market of Eldoria. The streets were alive with energy, filled with the chatter of merchants, the laughter of children, and the scent of fresh bread and spices. Brightly colored tents lined the cobblestone paths, each one holding treasures from across the kingdom. The market felt magical to Camilla, and today it seemed to hold a secret just for her. To the ordinary eye, Camilla appeared like any other young woman wandering through the crowds. She wore a simple dress of soft green fabric and carried a small satchel. Her hair was neatly tied back and her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Yet beneath her calm exterior, her heart pounded. She carried a secret that could change her life forever. Ever since the late Queen Amara had passed, the palace had been filled with sorrow and ceremony. The royal family was busy with mourning, attending to visitors and organizing the queen's belongings. Everyone knew that the queen's treasures, jewels, golden ornaments, and rare artifacts were meant to remain locked safely in the palace vault. But Camilla had seen those treasures up close, as she had been a trusted lady-in-waiting to the queen for many years. She had admired the jewels often, and they had become etched in her mind. One night after the palace had gone quiet, Camilla made a decision. She had taken a few of the smaller, most valuable jewels and hidden them carefully in her satchel. Her plan was to sell them discreetly in the market and use the money to start a new life far from the palace. She had thought of every detail. She had memorized the faces of the buyers who traded in precious jewels, rehearsed the stories she would tell them, and had even considered the safest routes to leave the city. The sun rose high, spreading warm golden light over the market. The air was thick with the aroma of fresh bread, sweet pastries, and fragrant flowers. Camilla moved through the crowd, her steps quiet but purposeful. She approached a stall that belonged to a wealthy-looking merchant. His table was covered with silk cloth and gold coins gleamed under the sunlight. She carefully opened her satchel and laid the jewels on the table. They sparkled like captured stars, catching the light from every angle. The merchant leaned closer, his eyes widening with admiration. "These are exquisite," he whispered, running his fingers lightly over a necklace of rare sapphires. Camilla smiled, her heart racing with excitement. She had thought she would be safe, but safety was an illusion. A voice, sharp and commanding, cut through the noise of the market. "Step away from the jewels, Camilla." Her stomach dropped. She turned slowly, and there he was, Sir Roland, one of the royal guards. His polished armor shone in the sunlight, and his expression was stern. Every movement was precise, every step firm. The crowd began to notice the tension, whispering in surprise as they recognized the young woman in the guard. Camilla's mind raced. How had he found her? She had been so careful, so quiet. She tried to think of an excuse, a story that might save her, but her words caught in her throat. Sir Roland took a step closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "Those jewels belong to the late queen," he said firmly. "You have no right to sell them. Step aside and surrender them immediately." Camilla's hands trembled as she placed the jewels back into her satchel. Her plan, her dreams of escaping the palace seemed to crumble before her eyes. She realized that running would be impossible. Sir Roland was one of the finest guards in Eldoria. No one could escape him. The merchant glanced nervously between Camilla and Sir Roland. "Is this true?" he asked quietly. "Did you take these from the queen?" Camilla did not answer. She only looked down, wishing the ground could open and swallow her. The market, once a place of excitement and opportunity, now felt like a cage. She could feel the eyes of the crowd on her, their curiosity mixed with disbelief. Sir Roland's gaze softened for a moment. "Camilla," he said gently, "I know this is difficult. You were trusted by the queen, but stealing from her even now is a serious offense. You must come with me to the palace. There your actions will be judged." Fear, shame, and regret washed over Camilla. She had dreamed of freedom, of leaving the palace and living a life of her own. She had imagined traveling to distant cities, wearing new clothes, and seeing the world beyond Eldoria. But now all those dreams felt impossible. She followed Sir Roland silently, keeping her head bowed as the crowd whispered behind her. Children stopped their games to watch, and merchants paused their sales. A young boy tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Is that Camilla?" he asked in a hushed voice. "Yes," the mother replied. "She was once close to the queen. She had the queen's trust." Camilla felt the weight of shame pressing on her chest. Her steps felt heavy, as if the very ground beneath her were trying to pull her down. She had been a servant of the queen, a trusted companion, and now she was seen as a thief. Her life, which had once been secure, now felt uncertain. As they walked through the streets toward the palace, memories of her time with the queen flooded Camilla's mind. She remembered the queen's gentle smile, her kind words, and the lessons she had taught Camilla about loyalty, honor, and courage. She remembered the day the queen had entrusted her with a delicate necklace for a ceremony, the way she had handled it with care, and the pride she had felt. Those memories now felt like distant dreams, tainted by her choice to take the jewels. Sir Roland did not speak again, but his presence was a constant reminder of the consequences she would face. The palace gates rose ahead of them, grand and intimidating. Guards lined the entrance, their spears glinting in the sunlight. Camilla's heart pounded as she stepped inside, realizing that she was no longer just a young woman wandering in the market. She was now at the center of a storm that could change her life forever. Inside the palace, the hallways were quiet, almost reverent. The servants moved silently, and the banners that displayed the late queen's emblem hung solemnly. Camilla felt every step echo in the marble corridors. She was led to a room filled with familiar faces, advisors, guards, and members of the royal council. All eyes turned toward her. A deep voice broke the silence. "Camilla," said Lady Isolde, the head of the queen's household. Her eyes were filled with disappointment and sorrow. "How could you betray the trust of the late queen?" Camilla lowered her eyes, unable to meet Lady Isolde's gaze. She wanted to speak, to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but no words seemed right. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear and regret. Sir Roland stepped forward. "She has surrendered the jewels, my lady," he said. "But the act itself cannot be ignored. The council will decide her fate." Camilla felt a cold shiver run down her spine. She had known that taking the jewels was dangerous, but she had not imagined the full weight of what awaited her. The room was silent except for the soft rustle of clothing and the occasional whisper. She felt every eye on her, weighing her, judging her. As she stood there, Camilla realized something important. She had made a mistake, a grave mistake, but she was still the same person who had once served the queen faithfully. She had to find a way to face the consequences, to make amends, and to survive the challenges that lay ahead. The council began to speak, their voices serious and firm. They discussed the rules, the laws, and the importance of honor. Camilla listened quietly, her heart heavy but her mind slowly beginning to clear. She understood that this was not just about punishment. It was about loyalty, responsibility, and the trust that had been broken. Camilla took a deep breath and lifted her head slightly. She would face whatever came next with courage. She did not know what the council would decide, but she knew that she could not run. She could not hide. She had to accept her actions and their consequences. As the discussions continued, Camilla felt a mixture of fear and determination. The jewels had brought her to this moment, but her choices from now on would shape her future. She was no longer just a servant of the late queen. She was a young woman standing at a crossroads, her past and her future meeting in a single, decisive moment. And so Camilla waited, knowing that the events of this day would mark the beginning of a journey that could change her life forever. The market, the jewels, the whispers of the crowd, all of it had led her here. What awaited her next was unknown, but she was ready to face it step by step with courage and honesty in her heart. The grand hall of Eldoria's palace was silent, the kind of silence that pressed on Camilla's chest. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and candle wax. Heavy curtains blocked the sunlight, making the room dim. She stood in the center, her satchel of jewels safely handed over to the council. Every face around her carried a mixture of sorrow, disappointment, and authority. Camilla felt small, though she had always been careful, clever, and proud. At the head of the room sat Lord Adrian, the chief advisor to the late queen. His robes were deep blue, embroidered with golden threads that glimmered even in the dim light. His eyes, sharp and commanding, scanned Camilla as if weighing every action, every thought. He cleared his throat, and the room grew even quieter. "Camilla," he began, his voice firm but not unkind, "you were once trusted by the late queen. You served her closely, and she valued your loyalty. Yet today we stand here because you betrayed that trust. You attempted to take jewels from the royal collection for your own use." Camilla lowered her eyes, feeling the weight of shame. She remembered the sparkle of the jewels in the market sun, the way her hands had trembled as she laid them out, and the sharp voice of Sir Roland that had stopped her. She had imagined freedom and adventure, but she had never thought about the consequences in full. "Lady Isolde," The head of the queen's household spoke next. Her voice was calm but heavy with disappointment. Camilla, these jewels were not mere ornaments. They were symbols of the queen's life, her work, and her commitment to Eldoria. To take them is to take a piece of her memory. Camilla's hands clenched in front of her. She wanted to speak, to explain herself, but the right words seemed impossible. She remembered the late queen's kind smile and her words of guidance, telling her that honesty and courage were the most important virtues a person could hold. Camilla felt her chest tighten. She had failed those virtues. A young council member, Master Lenore, leaned forward. We must decide what is just. Camilla was clearly tempted by greed, but she surrendered the jewels without causing harm. Her actions were serious, yet she did not resist the law. That must be considered in our judgment. Camilla listened quietly, grateful for his words but still fearful of what was to come. She had always known that the royal family valued fairness, but she had also seen how strict the rules could be. This was no simple punishment. This was a test of her character and the trust she had broken. Lord Adrian nodded thoughtfully. Master Lenore speaks truth. Camilla, we must consider both your service to the Queen and your recent actions. A person who betrays trust even once cannot simply be forgiven. Yet, a complete severance from the royal family may be harsher than necessary. We will deliberate carefully. The council withdrew into discussion, leaving Camilla standing alone in the hall for the first time. The silence was heavy, yet it gave her space to think. She thought of the market, the sparkling jewels, and her dream of leaving Eldoria behind. She had imagined that money could buy freedom, but she now realized that freedom without honor was hollow. Camilla remembered the people she had served, the queen's kindness and the palace walls that had sheltered her. For the first time, she understood the weight of responsibility. Trust was not something to take lightly, and even a single mistake could ripple into consequences far greater than imagined. Sir Roland stood nearby, his armor catching the faint light from the candles. He had not spoken since handing her over to the council. His presence was steady, unwavering, and Camilla found a strange comfort in it. He had discovered her, yet he had not treated her with cruelty. There was respect in his eyes, as if he believed she could still redeem herself. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Finally, Lord Adrian returned to his seat. He motioned for Camilla to step forward. Her heart beat faster, but she held her head high, trying to summon courage. Camilla, Lord Adrian said, we have considered your actions and your service. The council agrees that trust must be upheld above all else. A person who betrays that trust cannot retain the same privileges they once held. Therefore, we have decided to strip you of your title and your position within the royal household. The words hit Camilla like a cold wind. She had expected punishment, but she had not imagined losing her title, the very identity she had built over years of loyal service. She felt a wave of grief and confusion. You will no longer be recognized as a lady of the court, Lord Adrian continued. You are free to remain in Eldoria, but you must live as a common citizen. Your actions will serve as a lesson for others who might be tempted to betray trust. Camilla's eyes stung with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She bowed her head deeply. I understand, my lord. I accept your judgment. Lady Isolde stepped forward. Camilla, though you are no longer part of the royal household, remember this. Your character is not defined by a title alone. You have the opportunity to prove yourself through actions, honesty, and courage. Redemption is possible, but it will not be easy. Camilla's heart lifted slightly at Lady Isolde's words. For the first time, she felt a spark of hope. She had lost her title, but perhaps she could regain respect through her deeds. Perhaps she could still find a new path and make amends for her mistake. After the council's decision, Camilla was escorted from the hall. The servants and guards bowed respectfully as she passed. She noticed a few whispers among the staff, some expressing pity, others curiosity. The palace felt different now, less like a home and more like a place she had outgrown, forced into a new chapter of her life. Outside the palace walls, the sun was high in the sky. The streets of Eldoria were alive with activity, just as they had been when she had walked through the market. Yet everything felt changed. The market, once a place of opportunity, now reminded her of her mistake. The bright colors of the tents and the laughter of children were tinged with memory and regret. Camilla walked slowly, carrying no satchel and no jewels. Her hands were empty, but her mind was full. She thought about what she had learned, the cost of her actions, and the importance of trust. She had dreamed of freedom and adventure, but now she understood that true freedom came with responsibility and honor. She passed by a small fountain where children played, tossing coins into the water. She watched them for a moment, smiling faintly. Their laughter reminded her that life continued even after mistakes. Perhaps she could find joy again even without her title. Perhaps she could rebuild her life from the ground up. Camilla's thoughts turned to Sir Roland. Though he had been the one to stop her, his steady presence and fair judgment gave her hope. She realized that some people could act as guides, even in the darkest moments, helping her find a better path. That evening, as Camilla returned to a modest home provided by the council for her temporary stay, she began to plan. She would need to earn a living honestly, rebuild her reputation, and prove that she could live with integrity. She thought of learning new skills, helping others, and finding a way to contribute to her city. Though the loss of her title felt heavy, Camilla felt determination growing within her. Titles were given by others, but respect and honor were earned through actions. She could still create a life that mattered, even if it was different from the one she had imagined. As night fell over Eldoria, Camilla stood by the window of her small room, looking at the stars. The palace loomed in the distance, a reminder of her past and the lessons she had learned. She whispered quietly to herself, promising to be stronger, wiser, and more honest in the days to come. Camilla knew that the journey ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges, but she also knew that she had survived the first and hardest test. She had faced the council, accepted her punishment, and chosen to move forward with courage. The jewels were gone, her title was gone, but her spirit remained. And with that spirit, Camilla would face whatever came next, determined to shape her own destiny, step by step, day by day. The world outside waited, full of opportunities and challenges, and Camilla was ready to meet it, not as a lady of the court, but as herself, a young woman with courage, determination, and the chance to create a new life. Camilla walked through the streets of Eldoria with a careful but determined step. The city felt different now. She had lived within the palace walls for most of her life, where every corner was familiar and every voice respected her. Now she was a stranger in her own city, stripped of title, stripped of the comfort she had known. Yet with every step, a new sense of freedom began to grow. She carried no jewels, no satchel of wealth, only her own courage and a small bag of personal belongings provided by the council. The people she passed gave polite nods, some curious glances, and a few whispers, but no one challenged her. She realized that she had the chance to start over, to create a life that belonged to her alone. Her first destination was a small boarding house near the edge of the city. It was modest, with wooden walls and a tiled roof, and the scent of baked bread from a nearby bakery filled the air. The owner, Mrs. Thalia, was a kind woman with a warm smile and keen eyes. She welcomed Camilla without judgment. "You must be Camilla," she said. "The council mentioned you. Come, we have a small room ready for you." Camilla stepped inside, grateful for the simple kindness. The room was small but cozy, with a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out over a quiet street. She placed her bag on the bed and sat down, feeling the exhaustion of the day settle in her bones. The market, the jewels, the council, and the palace, all of it seemed like a distant memory now. Mrs. Thalia placed a bowl of warm soup on the desk. "You must eat something," she said. "Starting a new life is not easy. You will need strength." Camilla nodded and smiled faintly. The simple act of kindness warmed her in a way the palace never could. She ate slowly, savoring the taste and the quiet of the room. After dinner, Camilla stepped outside. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky with shades of gold and pink. She walked along the cobblestone streets, noticing the small shops, the children playing, and the merchants closing their stalls. Life went on, ordinary and yet full of possibilities. She realized that while her past had been defined by palace walls and jewels, her future could be shaped by her own hands. The next morning, Camilla began seeking work. She had no wealth, no title, but she had skills learned in the palace. She knew how to sew delicate patterns, manage supplies, and assist in organizing events. She visited small shops and houses, offering her help with tasks that required patience, care, and precision. Some turned her away, wary of her past, but others welcomed her. At a small tailor shop owned by Master Fenric, she found her first opportunity. The shop specialized in sewing fine clothes for local citizens and visiting nobles who did not require palace attendance. Master Fenric was strict but fair, a man who noticed talent immediately. He watched Camilla carefully as she worked. Her hands moved with precision, her mind attentive to every detail. "You have skill," he said after a few hours. "I will give you work here. You will start as an assistant, but if you continue to show care and attention, you may advance." Camilla felt a thrill of hope. It was not wealth, it was not a title, but it was honest work, and it gave her a chance to rebuild her life. Days turned into weeks. Camilla learned quickly, her confidence growing with each stitch and each completed task. She was grateful for the simple life. Though her mind often wandered to the palace, she wondered how Sir Roland was doing, how Lady Isolde and Lord Adrian were managing the affairs of the court, and whether anyone remembered her mistakes. Yet she did not dwell on the past for long. She had work to do, a life to rebuild, and she focused on that. One afternoon, as she carried freshly sewn garments to a customer's home, she noticed a small boy struggling to carry a basket of fruits across the street. Without hesitation, Camilla stepped forward and helped him. The boy looked up with wide eyes. "Thank you, miss," he said shyly. Camilla smiled and ruffled his hair gently. "Be careful next time," she said kindly. The small act of kindness brought a warmth to her heart that she had not expected. She realized that her new life offered moments like this, opportunities to help, to make a difference, and to find joy in simple actions. Titles and jewels could not give this sense of fulfillment. It was found in courage, compassion, and honesty. Weeks later, Camilla encountered a young woman named Mira. Mira was energetic, clever, and full of laughter. She worked at a nearby bakery and had quickly become known in the neighborhood for her kindness and creativity. Camilla and Mira became fast friends, sharing stories of their lives, hopes, and dreams. Mira did not care about Camilla's past. She only saw the person Camilla was now, willing to work hard and live with integrity. Through Mira, Camilla began to learn more about the city outside the palace. There were small festivals, celebrations, and community events where people gathered to sing, dance, and share meals. Camilla joined in whenever she could, slowly feeling herself becoming part of the city again. She discovered that while she had lost her royal title, she had gained something just as valuable, the chance to build real connections, to make friends who appreciated her for who she was, not for her status. One evening, Camilla and Mira walked along the river that ran through Eldoria. The water reflected the orange glow of the sunset, and the city seemed calm and peaceful. Mira turned to Camilla and said, "You've changed so much. When I first met you, I thought you were sad all the time, but now you seem strong, like you are ready for anything." Camilla smiled, feeling a quiet pride.
"It has not been easy," she admitted.
"I lost everything I thought mattered, my title, my place in the palace. But I am learning that what matters most is what I do, not what I am given." Mira nodded. "Exactly. People will respect you for your actions. You are proving that every day." Camilla thought about the late queen. She remembered her gentle guidance, her wisdom, and her emphasis on honesty and courage. Camilla realized that even though she had made mistakes, she could still honor the queen's memory by living rightly, helping others, and building a life she could be proud of. As the days passed, Camilla became known in her neighborhood not as a former lady of the palace, but as someone reliable, kind, and hardworking. She helped children learn to read, assisted neighbors with chores, and offered advice when she could. Slowly, respect returned to her life, not through a title or jewels, but through her actions and character. One morning, news arrived that a festival would be held to celebrate the city's history and culture. Camilla and Mira volunteered to help organize decorations and events. Camilla worked tirelessly, her mind focused and her heart proud. She had found a place where she could contribute, be useful, and bring joy to others. For the first time since her fall from the palace, she felt a sense of belonging. Camilla understood something important now. Life outside the palace was not easy, and every day required effort and courage. But in that effort, she discovered freedom, joy, and meaning. Titles and jewels could never give her what she now possessed, a life she had built herself, friendships she cherished, and the ability to face the world with honesty. As night fell on Eldoria and the festival lights glimmered across the city, Camilla stood beside Mira, watching children run and families gather. She smiled, feeling a quiet happiness she had never known in the palace. She had lost a title, but she had gained something greater, the chance to shape her own destiny, to make choices guided by honor and to find joy in helping others. Camilla knew that her journey was only beginning. Challenges would come and she would have to remain strong. Yet she was no longer afraid of failure. She had learned that mistakes could teach lessons, that courage could build new paths, and that true respect was earned, not given, and so, Camilla's new life continued. Filled with work, friendship, kindness, and hope, she had stepped out of the shadow of the palace and into the sunlight of her own making. Though the past remained a part of her, it no longer defined her. Her actions, her choices, and her courage now shaped the story of her life. One step at a time, Camilla had lost jewels and a title, but she had discovered something far more valuable, a life worth living and a heart strong enough to face any challenge that lay ahead. Camilla had grown accustomed to her new life in Eldoria. Her days were filled with work at the tailor shop, small acts of kindness, and moments spent with Mira. She had begun to feel that she belonged to the city, that her past in the palace was slowly becoming a distant memory. Yet sometimes, when she walked past the palace walls, she could not help but feel the weight of her mistakes pressing on her heart. One sunny morning, as Camilla was arranging bolts of fabric at Master Fenrich's shop, a messenger arrived, carrying a sealed letter. The paper was heavy and marked with the royal insignia. Camilla's hands trembled as she took it. She recognized the seal immediately. This was official correspondence from the palace. Her mind raced. What could the council want from her now? Had she done something wrong without knowing it? Master Fenrich looked over her shoulder with curiosity. "Do you wish me to open it for you?" he asked kindly. Camilla shook her head. This was something she needed to face herself. She broke the seal carefully and unfolded the letter. The words inside were clear but urgent. The council requested her presence at the palace to discuss a matter of importance. It did not explain the reason. Camilla's stomach twisted. She had hoped her past was behind her, yet now it seemed that it was coming back, perhaps to challenge her hard-earned peace. After a long pause, Camilla made her decision. She could ignore the letter, but that would not bring closure. She needed to face whatever awaited her. Mira noticed her worry and offered words of encouragement. "You have grown strong, Camilla. No matter what it is, you can face it with courage. I will come with you if you wish." Camilla smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Mira. I think I must go alone this time. This is something I must confront myself." The walk to the palace was quiet. The streets were familiar, yet the sight of the tall gates made Camilla's heart beat faster. Sir Roland stood at the entrance, as always, his posture straight and watchful. When he saw her, he gave a respectful nod, acknowledging her presence without speaking. His calm and steady gaze reminded Camilla of the first time he had caught her in the market. She had feared him then, but now she felt a strange sense of trust. Inside the grand hall, the council awaited her. Lord Adrian's expression was serious, though not harsh. Lady Isolde and Master Lenore stood beside him. Camilla bowed politely, her hands folded in front of her. "Camilla," Lord Adrian began, "thank you for coming. We are aware of your efforts to live honorably since your departure from the royal household. Your work in the city and your assistance to others have not gone unnoticed. Yet there is a matter that requires your attention, one that concerns both the royal family and the people of Eldoria." Camilla listened intently. Her heart beat faster, but she remained composed. She had faced judgment once, and she could face it again. Master Lenore stepped forward. "Recently, we have received information about a group attempting to sell stolen royal artifacts in nearby towns. These items have not been recovered, and the perpetrators remain at large. We believe they may have connections within the palace or among those who once served the royal family." Camilla's pulse quickened. Could this have anything to do with her past actions? Had someone discovered the jewels she once held? She took a deep breath and remained calm, hoping to show the council that she had nothing to hide. Lord Adrian continued, "Camilla, we need someone we can trust to help us investigate discreetly. Your knowledge of the palace, its layout, and the people who had access to royal treasures could be invaluable. This is a dangerous task, but it requires honesty, courage, and intelligence. We believe you possess these qualities." Camilla's mind raced. She had feared that her past would forever define her, yet here was an opportunity to prove herself again, not through title or wealth, but through actions. She felt a spark of determination. "I will do my best, my lord," she said firmly. "I want to help Eldoria and honor the memory of the late queen." Lord Adrian nodded. "Very well. You will work closely with Sir Roland. He will guide you and ensure your safety. Use your knowledge wisely and remember that the kingdom depends on your discretion." Sir Roland stepped forward and gave a slight bow. "Camilla, I will assist you, but we must be cautious. The people behind this are clever and careful. Every step must be measured." Camilla nodded. She realized that her new life of peace and routine would be interrupted, yet she felt ready for the challenge. This task would test her courage, intelligence, and integrity, but it was also a chance to restore her reputation fully. The investigation began immediately. Camilla and Sir Roland traveled to the nearby towns where rumors of stolen artifacts had arisen. Camilla observed quietly, listening to merchants, townspeople, and travelers. She used her knowledge of the palace to ask questions in ways that seemed casual, never revealing that she had once held the queen's jewels. Over the course of several days, they uncovered clues. A certain traveling merchant was acting suspiciously, moving from town to town without explanation. Camilla noticed details that others missed: a missing label on a fine fabric, a pattern on a small jewelry box, and subtle changes in behavior that indicated dishonesty. One evening, as they returned to their inn, Sir Roland spoke quietly. "You have sharp eyes, Camilla. These clues would have escaped most people. Your understanding of palace treasures and procedures is a great asset." Camilla felt a quiet pride. She had once feared that her knowledge of the palace would only mark her as a thief. Now it was helping her serve Eldoria and prove that she could act with honor. The next day they followed the trail to a small village near the river. There, hidden in a modest house, they found several artifacts: ornate jewelry, golden trinkets, and rare gems, carefully packed for sale. Camilla's heart skipped a beat. She recognized some of the items, though they were not the jewels she had once taken. They waited until nightfall and approached the house carefully. Sir Roland led the way while Camilla observed quietly. Inside, the thieves were unaware of their approach. Using a combination of careful planning and observation, Camilla and Sir Roland were able to recover the stolen items without confrontation. The artifacts were safely returned to the palace under the cover of night, ensuring that the thieves remained unaware of how close they had come to capture. When they returned to Eldoria, Lord Adrian and Lady Isolde received them with approval. "Camilla," Lord Adrian said, "you have demonstrated courage, intelligence, and loyalty. You have helped recover treasures that could have been lost forever. Your actions show that your character is strong and honorable." Camilla felt a warmth in her heart. The council's recognition was not about a title or jewels, but about her actions, her choices, and her integrity. She realized that she had come full circle, from a young woman who made a mistake to someone who could make a real difference. Lady Isolde smiled gently. "Camilla, you have proven that mistakes do not define a person. It is what one does afterward that shapes their legacy. Eldoria is fortunate to have you, even without a title. Your courage and honesty inspire all of us." Camilla bowed her head respectfully, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. She had faced the shadow of her past, acted with integrity, and emerged stronger. The fear and shame she had carried for so long had transformed into confidence and purpose. That night, Camilla walked along the river once more, the moonlight reflecting on the water. She felt a calm strength within her, a knowledge that her life had meaning beyond titles, jewels, or recognition. She had faced her past, embraced her present, and could now look toward the future with hope. Camilla realized that while challenges would continue to arise, she had the courage, wisdom, and integrity to meet them. The palace, the jewels, and her past mistakes had led her to this point, but they no longer defined her. Her actions now, guided by honesty and courage, would shape the story of her life. And so Camilla prepared for whatever came next, knowing that she could face the world with a strong heart, clear mind, and unwavering determination. Camilla stood on the balcony of the small inn where she had stayed during her work with Sir Roland. The morning sun painted the city of Eldoria in golden light. The streets below were already alive with merchants opening their stalls, children laughing, and the hum of daily life. Camilla felt a quiet sense of peace that she had never experienced while living in the palace. She had faced her past, confronted her mistakes, and acted with honor. Now, she could finally look forward to her future with clarity and hope. After, The successful recovery of the stolen artifacts, the council had summoned Camilla for a final discussion. She felt nervous, wondering if they would offer her a return to the palace or a different kind of responsibility. When she arrived at the council chamber, she saw Lord Adrian, Lady Isolde, and Master Lenore waiting for her. Sir Roland stood nearby, his usual calm presence reassuring her. "Camilla," Lord Adrian began, "you have shown extraordinary courage, intelligence, and loyalty. The council has deliberated, and we are pleased to inform you that your actions have earned you the respect of the royal family and the people of Eldoria. While your previous title cannot be restored, your position within the palace is not required to demonstrate honor. You have proven that character is more important than rank or wealth." Camilla felt a warmth in her heart. She had feared that her mistakes would define her forever. Yet here she was being recognized not for a title but for her actions. She bowed respectfully. "Thank you, my lord. I will continue to act with honor and integrity in all I do." Lady Isolde stepped forward, a gentle smile on her face. "Camilla, you have proven that mistakes can lead to growth. You have learned the value of honesty, responsibility, and courage. Eldoria is fortunate to have someone like you in its midst, a person who can serve the city and its people in many ways." Master Lenore nodded. "You have also shown initiative, intelligence, and a willingness to face danger for the greater good. Those qualities are rare and invaluable. We trust that you will continue to contribute positively to Eldoria." Camilla felt tears of relief and gratitude welling in her eyes. She had once believed that her life was ruined, that her mistake had taken everything from her. Yet she had discovered something far more valuable: self-respect, courage, and the ability to make a real difference. As she left the council chamber, Sir Roland walked beside her. "You have done well, Camilla," he said quietly. "You have proven yourself through your actions. That is more important than any title or jewel." Camilla smiled faintly. "I could not have done it without your guidance, Sir Roland. Thank you for believing in me." He nodded. "It was your courage and determination that made the difference. I only helped you find the right path." Over the following weeks, Camilla returned to her life in the city. She continued her work at Master Fenrich's tailor shop, but now her reputation had grown. People came from neighboring towns seeking her skill and advice. Yet more importantly, she had earned the trust and respect of the community. She helped children learn to read, assisted neighbors with their work, and organized small community events. Each act of service strengthened her sense of purpose and joy. Mira remained by her side, her constant companion and friend. Together they worked to create a network of support for those in the city who needed guidance or help. Camilla felt that her life had meaning beyond the palace walls, and she embraced it fully. One afternoon, as Camilla walked through the market, she noticed a group of young women struggling to lift a large bundle of cloth. Without hesitation, she stepped forward to help them. They smiled gratefully, and one of them said, "Thank you, miss." "You are very kind." Camilla realized in that moment that kindness and courage could create a ripple effect. Her actions inspired others, and that inspiration was far more valuable than any jewel she had once desired. She felt a quiet pride in her heart, knowing that she could make a positive difference in the world, one small act at a time. One evening, a festival was held in Eldoria to celebrate the city's history and achievements. Camilla and Mira volunteered to help organize the decorations, performances, and events. The streets were filled with laughter, music, and color. Children ran through the streets chasing each other. Merchants displayed their finest goods, and families gathered to share meals and stories. Camilla stood beside Mira, watching the festival unfold. She felt a deep sense of belonging and happiness. She had once sought joy in wealth and titles, but now she understood that true fulfillment came from helping others, earning respect, and living with integrity. She had discovered the value of her own courage and kindness, and that knowledge gave her a joy that no title or jewel could ever match. As the sun set and the festival lights glimmered across the city, Camilla thought of the late Queen Amara. She remembered the Queen's wisdom, kindness, and guidance. Camilla had once feared that she had betrayed the Queen's trust, Yet now, she felt that she had honored her memory by learning, growing, and acting with integrity. She whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude, promising to continue living in a way that reflected the lessons she had learned. The next day, a delegation from the palace arrived in the city. They came to thank Camilla personally for her role in recovering the stolen artifacts. Lord Adrian, Lady Isolde, and other officials praised her courage and intelligence. While her title remained formally stripped, the respect she had earned through her actions was far greater than any ceremonial honor. She had proven herself in the eyes of the palace and the people alike. Sir Roland approached her once more. "You have done more than anyone could have expected, Camilla. Your actions have made Eldoria safer and stronger. Your reputation is now built on courage and honor, not titles or wealth." Camilla smiled. "I have learned that true value comes from what one does, not what one is given. I am grateful for the chance to prove myself in this way." Months passed, and Camilla's life continued to flourish. She had found a sense of purpose, meaningful friendships, and a community that respected her for her actions. The small moments of kindness she offered each day created a life that was rich and full, in ways that jewels or titles never could. One evening, as she walked along the river with Mira, Camilla reflected on her journey. She had made a mistake, faced the consequences, and learned the importance of courage, honesty, and responsibility. She had discovered that redemption was possible, but it required effort, determination, and the willingness to act rightly. Mira smiled at her. "You have come so far, Camilla. I am proud to know you. You inspire everyone around you." Camilla nodded, feeling a quiet sense of fulfillment. "I have learned that mistakes do not define us. It is our actions afterward that show who we truly are. I am grateful for the chance to prove that." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over Eldoria. Camilla watched as the city lights reflected on the river, feeling at peace. She had lost her title, the jewels, and her former life in the palace, but she had gained something far more valuable: courage, respect, and a life built on her own choices. Camilla understood that her journey was not over. Challenges would continue to come, but she now faced them with confidence and strength. Her past had shaped her, but it did not define her. Her actions, kindness, and courage would continue to guide her future. As night fell over Eldoria, Camilla and Mira walked back to their homes, sharing laughter and stories of the day. Camilla felt the satisfaction of knowing that she had chosen the right path, faced her fears, and created a meaningful life. She no longer sought jewels or titles. She had discovered the true treasures of life: honor, friendship, and the courage to live rightly. Camilla's heart was full, and her spirit was strong. She had faced the shadows of her past, embraced the lessons they offered, and stepped into a future full of possibility. She had found redemption, earned respect, and built a life that mattered. And so, Camilla's journey continued, not as a lady of the palace, but as a young woman of courage, integrity, and kindness. Eldoria had become her home, and she had become a person capable of creating lasting change, one thoughtful action at a time. The city and its people would remember her not for the mistakes she once made, but for the honor, bravery, and goodness she showed in overcoming them. Camilla smiled as she looked at the stars above, knowing that this was only the beginning of a life well lived, guided by the lessons of the past and the promise of a brighter future.